Most stylists don't stay in artist mode because they're lazy or unambitious. They stay there because the artist mode is safe. Your brain is wired to prefer comfort over change. Your comfort zone can keep you safe, but it can also keep you small. Welcome to the SSA podcast. I'm your host, Ambrosia Carey, and this is where stylists come to transform from overwhelmed and overworked into profitable, confident business owners behind the chair. If you're craving clarity on your finances, communication, pricing, marketing, or even mindset, which can dramatically impact your success, this podcast is your weekly roadmap. Let's get into it. This is one of those episodes that changes how you run your business forever, because your mindset is the very first thing that determines your income, your schedule, your stress levels, and your long-term success. Before we dive in, I want to take a moment to say how much I genuinely love hearing from you, your reviews, your takeaways, because this helps me understand what is resonating and what's helping, and how I can keep showing up for this community in the best way possible. Your reviews don't just make my day, they help the podcast reach the stylists who actually need to hear this kind of education and support. We're choosing 5 reviewers at random across Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube, and we're going to be giving out a 30-minute free session, which is a one-on-one business consultation with yours truly. This episode is all about the Salon CEO mindset, thinking like a business owner, not just an artist. And all jokes aside, yes, CEO is a corporate life term, which is all about a C-suite company with a board and executives beneath you. But in this industry, CEO is really about the role that we step into when we run a business side of the career. Even if you're a booth renter or a suite owner, you are a person making decisions about money, marketing, boundaries, pricing, growth strategy, systems. Do I need to keep saying more? It's a lot, AKA the CEO tasks. And it's less about the formal title and it's offers hair. So everything happens within that identity of our mindset. And that identity shifts that, which unlocks bigger income. It's also where we keep our psychology and our emotions and our deeper relatable traits that actually tie us to our clients. So let's talk about that identity for a second, because this part isn't tactical, it's personal. Because most stylists don't stay in artist mode because they're lazy or unambitious. They stay there because the artist mode is safe. Artist mode is the place where you feel skilled. It's the place where you feel validated, the place where you don't have to risk being wrong. And it's also the place where you can stay in motion without confronting the hard stuff. So artist mode is where many of us build our identity. It's who we are praised for being. It's what our clients are complimenting or looking for. So that way you can get back to being the artist that you love being. So we just have to rewire or at least recondition ourselves in some aspect of our day-to-day operations. Your brain naturally gravitates toward what feels comfortable, what's predictable and familiar. It wants to keep you away from anything that feels risky, unclear. And transitioning into CEO mode, it identifies threat at first because it requires you to decide before you're ready, act without guaranteed outcomes, set boundaries that might feel upsetting to people, or charging prices that reflect your worth, not your fear, looking at numbers that may challenge your self-concept. And that's why stepping into CEO energy feels hard, not because you can't, but because psychologically your brain is wired to prefer comfort over change. But here's the emotional truth. Your comfort zone can keep you safe, but it can also keep you small. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. What CEO identity actually looks like is, from an emotional and practical standpoint, it's not being cold. It's not being corporate. It's not abandoning creativity. It's not turning your back on being an artist. It's simply realizing that my creativity deserves structure. My talent deserves strategy. And my future deserves intention. And CEO identity is choosing long-term vision over short-term comfort, purpose over panic, consistency over chaos, and data over drama, and especially boundaries over burnout. It's choosing yourself while you're choosing your business. So even though I'm jumping straight into the hard lessons of this, I really want to make sure that you hear me out here. I have a deeply emotional, connective relationship with each and every client that sits in my chair. I know some of the most intimate parts of their lives, and they know a lot of intimate parts of my lives as well. We share equally. I don't want to ever take that away from somebody. As a matter of fact, I want you to be able to lean further into that. But if you don't take care of your business, it won't allow you to afford that time with your clients. So that's why I'm having kind of this like big sis pep talk, because I want to empower you in a way that helps you tie your emotion into being able to realize a stronger business model for yourself. And you don't have to stop being an artist. That's just part of the magic. I mean, I want you to be an artist, and you don't have to stop running your business from the same mindset you use to paint hair. Your artistry creates beautiful results for your clients, and that CEO within you creates a beautiful life for you. Most stylists feel overwhelmed, not because they're bad at business, but because they're stuck doing everything at the lowest level of their skill set. And I want to go from working in, which is survival mode, to working on. And I know we've probably thrown around those terms a little bit, like, well, what is working in versus working on? So working in your business is part of the brain that handles things like the day-to-day, the urgent, the reactive, the things that feel good because they're familiar, and the tasks that keep you busy but not necessarily moving forward. It's your brain's comfort zone. It's the part that says, if I just stay in motion, I don't have to confront things I'm avoiding. That's why so many stylists feel that they're drowning even when their books are full, because they're depending on hustle instead of systems. Now, working on your business is more in expansion mode. And this is where the future gets built. This is where revenue stabilizes, your stress decreases, your confidence actually increases. Your time becomes intentional, your boundaries become clear, and your growth becomes predictable, not accidental. I mean, it's not glamorous. It's not instantly gratifying. But doesn't all that sound really wonderful? I mean, doesn't that sound like something that would make you want to lean more into your artistry if you had all that other stuff taken care of? And it often feels uncomfortable because it requires slowing down long enough to think instead of react. But this is part of that psychological truth. And of course, I'm in no means a psychologist, as much as we joke about our industry being like mini psychologists or somewhat. But I've done enough to really understand the way that my brain operates and how I was able to unlock certain things within my mindset, that I was able to distribute my energy, and I was able to really hone in on my focus with the business side, and I got to separate it from the personal and emotional side and then the creative side. So I get to really enjoy these different modalities within my business, and it also helped me, I think, regulate my stress and my system enough so that way I could have a long-term career. And it does become contagious. Once you actually start to unlock some of these things within yourself, you start to realize how this is a smarter and more strategic way of going about things, but it's also what helps you run a really long-term career, and it doesn't lead to that burnout. So I talk all the time to people, and that's like the number one thing. That's the number one reason why people wave the white flag and they're like, I need help, because they're in burnout mode and they're constantly in reactive mode. And it often feels uncomfortable because it requires slowing down. But this is the real truth. Your brain can't create new outcomes under constant stress or urgency. It just can't. It needs space to strategize. It needs clarity to make decisions. It needs pause to understand patterns even. And then working on your business is what creates that space. So this is just me, once again, like pretend I'm your big sis right now. And I'm just telling you, like, listen, I've been where you are. I know exactly what you're going through. I have had to go through the hardship of seeing where I was the one getting in my own way. And I also had to confront some of the things that I was ignoring. And once I started paying attention to them and I started doing them in small bite-sized pieces, I realized how it's really not that complicated. And if anything, it's such a clear roadmap toward diminishing stress and less guessing work. And I had more systems in place, and it let me celebrate more. It let me enjoy things more. And it let me dip into parts of the business that I was more curious about. It let me continue to get better, and it let me continue to grow. You can absolutely grind your way into burnout, but you can't grind your way into consistency. Working in keeps you tired. Working on transforms you. And that's something that I want you to just really visualize yourself. What would that look like if I could just set aside 1 hour blocks of time to really focus on this part of my business. And I'm not thinking anything about my artistry. I'm not thinking anything about my clients. And all I'm thinking about, how can I take better care of each and every person that walks through that door? How can I make sure that everything flows systematically? And how can I prepare myself for a better day tomorrow, the next day, the next day? The 4 weekly CEO tasks every stylist needs, basically, and I'll say probably in this order, goes like this. And these are very small, doable things, by the way. I'm not going to try to give you too many things all at once, because I don't believe that's what moves the needle at all. I believe what creates change happens in small increments at the time, and you need to do things when you're also prepared for it. So this is not about turning your week into an office job. It's about creating tiny habits that create massive emotional relief. I want you to preserve and conserve your energy so that you can have a long-term career and that you can make all the money, honey, because money follows these steps. If you're thinking about money and you're stressed about money, then it's going to lead to more results of thinking about money and being stressed about money. You follow? So, number 1, let's just get the elephant right out of the room. We're going to talk about money. So we're going to check in on that. So spend about 10 to 15 minutes. Where does most money anxiety come from? It usually comes from not knowing, not from the reality of the numbers. This check-in teaches your nervous system, I'm safe, I'm paying attention, I'm in control. This is where you get to look at what came in, what went out, what's coming up. And if you do things in that system, it lets you have a little bit more knowledge about where there's opportunity and how well or how not well you're doing. So if you can finally see, like, how much am I generating? How much am I spending? What's coming next? Then it lets you feel like you're more in the driver's seat and that you're more in control, because you're in a lot more control than you might think when it comes to your business. And awareness shrinks fear. So I just want you to get out of the fear mode first. Clarity shrinks chaos. I just want you to think about that over and over again. Clarity shrinks chaos. Okay, once you do that, your second step is doing a client audit. I want you to go through what your client is experiencing when they walk through the door, but actually before they walk through the door. I want you to go through every single thing that happens from each touch point with that client to the time they walk in the door, to sitting in your chair, to the service that you're providing, to the follow-up care, and to their next appointment. 5 to 10 minutes should be spent on this. It shouldn't take too long, but ask yourself a couple questions. Where did things feel messy this week? Where did clients ask the same questions? And where could I smooth this out? This is you becoming the version of yourself who leads intentionally instead of reacting emotionally. And these small improvements here will give you giant improvements in retention. We talked about retention mostly at our last episode. And if you missed that, I will link that in the show notes so you can listen to it. But retention, as we established, is one of the highest indicators in the health of your business. That is what lets you make bigger, bolder decisions. It's also what makes you spend less time on filling those gaps or those holes. So once you can get your retention up, then it lets you really focus on, kind of moving things up and down within your business that is going to help you see what's going to give you more growth and more value on your time. It's what's going to help you see where is the least optimized area and the highest optimized area, and how can I spend more time showcasing that higher optimized area. Okay, so the third thing that you can focus on is your marketing. Marketing is a giant umbrella that I think there's a lot of misnomers that go around it. And I think people get really overwhelmed when I think of marketing because there's so many different facets that you can market yourself. But I want you to really think about this. If you're spending, let's say 30 minutes of your time, I don't want to give you an unreasonable amount of time here. So 30 minutes of your time, you are going to spend in high productive mode. That means no scrolling, not getting in comparison mode. This is where you ask, what do my clients respond to? What questions can I answer in this post? What content actually brings clients to my chair? And this turns marketing from pressure to connection. And if you can answer all of those questions, you can put those in all the efforts of your marketing. So let's say your top tiers of marketing would be posting on Instagram and TikTok, email marketing, and then maybe having like a strong referral system and following up with that. So if those are your three areas where you're going to place a majority of your marketing efforts into, answering those questions: where do my clients respond? What questions can I answer? And what content brings in my clients? If you know those answers, you're just going to build things around that, answering all three of those questions. So that is where you can take the overwhelm out of your marketing efforts. And then the fourth thing you can focus on, and this should be anywhere between 15 and 20 minutes, is just one growth task. I'm a big fan of just focusing on one goal at a time, because again, if you focus on too many things, then it can both become overwhelming and it can set you up for disappointment, but also it's hard to repeat it. And then the efforts that you see being put out, you're not really sure what effort you're putting out actually gives you the results. So if you focus on one goal and you're doing things that you can measure, then it makes it easier for you to repeat it or know at least where my clients are hanging out. Because what if all your clients are hanging out on Facebook, but you're on Instagram all day long, you know? So I just really want you to like focus on one growth task at a time. And this is where your identity can evolve to. So these are some questions that you can be asking. So either write this down or, pause this and, repeat it or listen to it or whatever. But these are some questions that you can be asking yourself. What's one small thing that future me would do? So I want you to think about your best future self and ask, what would that person be doing right now? I bet if you really dig into it, if you really think about future you, I bet you'd find the answer. It's kind of funny how a lot of times the answer lies within ourselves, but we doubt it, or we make excuses, or we just find a way to ignore it. And then it's just kind of sitting on the back burner, not really living. So if you think about this one small thing about what your future self would do, then you can go through some of the tasks that would make this actually happen. This is where this growth task comes into play, where you can update your menu, you can create an add-on, you can plan a price change, you can learn something new, you can organize a system, you could take a class, you can map out next month's goal even. This is where your brain learns. So we want to be feeding our brain with new information because our brain is hungry to learn. Like I think it's kind of how we're hardwired, really. And not only are we wanting to learn, but we want to connect. And so I think sometimes when we think about our artistry, what's interesting about the art is that, yes, it's subjective, but it's typically based off of our expectation. When something is good, we decide if it's good or not. But if it's not good to the person who's receiving it in their eyes, if we didn't match the tone or the amount that they wanted, or if it didn't match their expectations, then it really is subjective at that point. So when we allow our brain to learn new things, we want to be able to see things from the perspective of the person who's coming in to see us. And that involves a ton of empathy. And it also involves the invitation for understanding communication for all types of people, because everyone has a very different communication style and not everyone's going to match our cadence. Ideally, we want to get more clients in our chair that fit our communication style, but we're not always going to be there. So trying out different ways of communication and those styles, the more you understand that person, the easier it is to at least meet them at their expectation. And if we wire our brains this way to really understand the person who's sitting in our chair, then there's no task too big or small to conquer, because every single time someone sits in our chair, it no longer is about hair anymore. That's where the artistry gets to come alive, because we can really focus on having a really outstanding service with our client and having a fun time. And the art part of it gets to be the reward. It's not the focus anymore. And this lets you get into the mindset of, I'm capable of more than surviving today. You're not thinking about just today anymore. You're building for tomorrow. And if you're constantly building for tomorrow, it actually lets you be more present in today. That's the trick I've found that has helped me and so many other people I've worked with. Now that we've gone through that list of things, I really want you to think about how you can make your decision based on data, not emotion. And this is going to be the hardest thing. And I know that this is probably where some of you might tune out a little bit, but I really want you to accept this challenge, because this is a way to correct our needs in a way. This is a moment where most stylists have their breakthrough, because the honest truth is this: emotion-based decisions are protective, but they're not profitable. And emotion says, I don't want to upset anyone. I'm afraid they'll leave. I don't feel ready. I just hope this works out. Like, if this sounds like you at all at any time of your life or your day or your week, then I just want you to know, first of all, that you're not alone. And also, this is a good step, because this means that you're aware that you're thinking this. Some people might do this and they don't even realize that this is what their mind is saying. So at least if you have awareness, that's the first step. Emotion is about keeping you safe, but it's also not helping you grow. So once you realize that, like, okay, I see you, I hear what you're saying, in your head, you can say that to yourself, but your brain is trying to protect your identity, your acceptance, and your belonging. Now, when you get to turn to data is coming from a neutral standpoint. Data is honest, and it's just giving you a clear direction on where you can go. And it's not letting you look at your fears anymore. It's removing your thoughts and your emotions, and it's not letting you make decisions for you. It's letting you put your thoughts and your emotions into the relationship you're building with your client now. It's not going into the service anymore. And data actually helps you make better decisions, and it lets you be smarter, and it lets you be more on top of your business. And data actually helps you with keeping your books full, and that's what helps you raise your prices. That's what helps you not overspend on color. It helps you adjust your usage. So when you look at data, it's giving you the answers to the questions you may be having, and sometimes we could even be asking the wrong questions. Like, how many times have you looked through your retention and you realize, like, oh, I guess I'm doing a little bit better than I thought I was. But in our mind is running, and our mind is creating things. If we don't have data, our mind is going to fill in the blanks. And oftentimes it's wrong. So that's the reason why emotion is not a really great place to measure anything at all. Emotion can really trick us. Emotion can create narratives. Emotion can keep us stuck. And emotion is also allowing fear to fill in the blanks. So we just want to make sure that data is anchoring us, and emotion gets to be put into the good parts rather than emotion draining us. So your feelings, yes, they matter. Of course they matter. That's what makes you so good at what you do. But they shouldn't be the CEO of your business, or whatever you want to call yourself. Like, we don't have to use the CEO term. I know it's really overused, and I just like saying CEO because it's kind of funny to me, honestly, because it's the part of our business that makes us take true ownership of what we do. And it's easy for us to really want to ignore that side of it because it feels not fun. And I hope that by me talking about this and maybe shedding some different ways of looking at it makes it feel a little bit more fun. I don't know. Like, I find it fun because it has created different conditions for me personally. Like, I have built amazing relationships. I've been able to take some of my money and put it into other businesses instead of getting a loan, or instead of like hoping or wishing or wondering what would it be like. It's what lets me take time away from the chair when I want to. I can take a vacation for 3 weeks at a time now and feel super comfortable that everyone's taken care of. I want that for you. I do. I want that for each and every person in our industry. It's our right. Everyone should be able to have this opportunity in our industry. I just think that we don't have enough resources. And I think it just takes discipline. And it's really hard to build discipline on your own if you don't have somebody helping you through that. So I hope that just by these little nuggets that I'm just throwing into each one of these episodes, it helps you maybe unwind some things a little bit and reorganize your thoughts. Profit matters in tracking your numbers, but I don't want you to obsess over it. So I think if I were to be really honest about this part, it's that a lot of stylists avoid numbers because numbers feel like judgment, shame, or proof that you're not good enough or something that you should be better at. And the real truth is that numbers aren't emotional at all either. We are. It's just us. And we have to separate that from it too. Numbers don't say you're bad at this. They simply say, here's what happened. And tracking your numbers isn't about being a math queen. It's about building relationship with reality. Again, not fear. Like, I want you to punch fear in the face. I don't want fear to be a voice in your head. I want fear to not be fed. And the only way that you can not feed fear is by having more facts in front of you. What numbers do for your mental health, by the way, is they quiet the I'm not doing enough spiral. They reduce financial anxiety. They reveal progress you can't see emotionally. They show you what's actually working, and they help you stop wasting time on things that don't matter. I mean, doesn't that all sound really wonderful? So profitable stylists track their numbers because clarity creates confidence, and confidence creates action, and action creates income. All right, my friends, that wraps up today's conversation, and I hope something in here sparked a shift for you. Remember, stepping into CEO mindset isn't about being a big team or having a fancy title. It's about recognizing that you're the one steering the ship. You get to decide what your business becomes. You deserve a career that feels intentional, profitable, and aligned with who you are becoming, not just who you've been. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with another stylist who is ready to level up with you. And don't forget, we're choosing 5 listeners at random this season for a free 30-minute business consultation with me. Just leave a review and I will be checking on that regularly. Thank you in advance. And I want to continue to encourage you to dream big, set goals, take action, and I'll check in with you next week. Take care.